Hello guys, bersama saya lagi dalam ORAITNOPO channel dalam siri Madani Mendengar ya untuk mendapatkan input-input bagi menyediakan rancangan Malaysia yang ke-13 ini. Ya, dalam siri ini bermacam-macam soalan dan soalan ini sahabat semua memang panas. Ya, seolah-olah soalan yang bakar menteri. Namun apapun, YB Rafizi Ramli dengan tenang menjawab segala persoalan-persoalan yang dikemukakan ya. Ada yang juga mengatakan Kementerian Ekonomi ini tidak mesra alam dan sebagainya. Jadi menarik untuk saya bawakan bersama dengan Anda ya sesi soal jawab ini sahabat semua, dan YB Rafizi sendiri akan memberikan jawaban ya secara terus dalam persoalan-persoalan yang dikemukakan oleh pemain-pemain industri ini. Jadi tanpa buang masa, ayo kita tonton video
Because
ini.
that means that we can go back and have a rest. Go ahead, yeah.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, YB, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Uma Shankri Aruldas. I'm from the aerospace industry, currently working as the engineering manager in a private airline in Malaysia, and also a researcher under the United Nations of Office of Space and Affairs. So my question, or that would be my sharing in terms of young professionals' view, from someone who has been dreaming of aerospace, from someone who studied aerospace in Malaysia, USM Penang, with the challenges that we had, and fast forward to almost a decade after, I've seen lots of improvisation within the industry, also with the government collaboration and everything. Having said that, also on the other hand, I have seen that, like how Dr. Walu said, that we are having brain drains in terms of talents, and Malaysia is oftentimes seen as a beautiful retirement country. So my question would be, Malaysia has its own strengths with having our astronaut, and also we have our Malaysian Space Agency. We have a very well-established Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia as well. So having said all of this, what are the steps that we could take in order to make our strength to be sustainable and also reflected with government and also with the private players in order to keep it in a glory state in a sustainable manner? Thank you.
Perhaps I take 2 or 3 questions. I do need a few minutes to chew before I get my voice back. So the next question.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good evening to everyone. Okay, YB Rafizi. My name Mona Lisa Mota, and my company is the name of my company is RM Global Marketing Malaysia Sdn Bhd. Okey, nak ucap tahniah pada YB Menteri as Menteri Ekonomi for the Madani government. But anyway, I came to your office, okay, a few times, and I did send a few letters for my company investment. My company, we managed to get the investment from China to Malaysia. But disappointednya, I don't receive any of your feedback or from the. Okay, Datuk TS, I agree with your presentation just now, but sometimes maybe my company is ongoing to be a giant company, but maybe you are not looking at my company in beginning. So I did invite from the Minister of Economy to come over and join our invitation to China for the industry. And I do agree with your point there. So because my company is looking towards, okay, in future for Malaysia, for the high-tech technology, which that we need to have that in Malaysia. Okay, I think I'm thankful to MITI, which really support my company. Professor Shamswa here, who support my company, giving the letter. And now the difficulty is I need the minister from the Ministry Economy to have the support to our company, to most of the, maybe a new player, to have at least to have words from the Kementerian Economy, any words, okay, whether you support us, come for a discussion or what. But there is none. So only the letter without any response. Jadi kecil hatilah juga. So it's not because there is no player. There is a player. But we need the support that at least to have the courtesy that what is we are doing for Malaysia, for this country. And another thing, it's so difficult to go and send a letter to your office, YB, because the police will say, do you have any appointment? So macam tak mesra. I memang tak minat macam tu. Because for us, as a private sector, we always move. Okay, sometimes we don't take our lunch, we don't know what time we take our dinner, we don't have our breakfast, because whatever in our mind is go for end result. To make it, everything must be success. So I hope in future or after this, please give us, if I said, because sometimes I need the officer. Today I can see a lot of officer from Ministry Economy. Before this, I tak nampak pun, I nampak polis je. So, I cannot discuss and talk about what is going on in my company for this industry, for this country. So, tak tahu nak cakap macam mana. So, but anyway, Madrid Chairman, Datuk Riza, he welcome our company and we discuss. Furthermore, we discuss with MITI, with TKSU, Alhamdulillah. MIDA, not really yet. But they did give a few of response. But I hope to be friendly, YB, for your Ministry of Economy, more friendly so that we can move further and to achieve that. TS, you said that actually we are already here. But please support and look, whatever letter is there and we are coming to have the response, a positive response from the ministry side so that we can move further and advance. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe another question? Well, maybe on the right-hand side.
Assalamualaikum dan selamat petang semua. Yang berbahagia YB Menteri dan juga Datuk Paduka Nur Azmi. Saya kenal Azhar bersara. I serve as a pilot in the Air Force for the last 30 years. And today I work with the UK company, BAE Systems, and I'm here representing British Malaysian Commercial Chamber. I like your word, that the YB mentioned that we need the right people for the right jobs. If I may share a bit of experience what we have done in UK, YB, we have what we call a simple institute. We call it ASK, Academy Skill of Knowledge, because in UK we produce a lot of aviation, everything, and also maritime. So they have same problem that we are facing here. Not the right people from licensed technician and licensed aircraft engineer. So in this case, that this ASK will cater all sort of requirement. Simple example that we have A400M and we have Euroquote helicopter. So it needs specialists, well trained. So in the UK, so whether you are apprentice or you're taking diploma, ijazah, or you are already qualified engineer. So when you exit from this academy, you are specific, you'll be graduated as, for example, maybe YB Rafizi Ramli, they just put the graduate qualified as a hydraulic engineer A400M, specific. So you work straight to any UK establishment Air Force for a specific job. So this is kind of what they have done, because 15 years ago, they have the same challenge what we have here. And another thing that YB kalau saya boleh mention on sustaining the asset. We have a lot of asset in Malaysia, especially because I'm from AEROANGKASA and defense, where challenges of sustaining the asset is quite great. Why? Because first, skill, through my experience. The second thing is a company. We need a local companies as ICP and to sustain the system. Good example is YB aware that we have jets that still flying until today, 33 years old, Hawk, small jets, nothing much, not that superior, but it's sustained until today, and it will phase out by 27 by Malaysian Air Force. And we have good offset program those days. We built CTRM, which produced a lot of components for Airbus and some and Boeing helicopter. So that is demanded by Malaysian government in 1992 to set up CTRM, and it's sustained until today. So what I'm trying to say is something that if you may consider, YB and your team, the direct offset that will sufficient for the industry, and talents will be sustained by this kind of economy. I mean, MEAT have a great asset and revenue. It just be something at least and part of offset of the new asset. So we are here, my office in KL, YB, and I'm the only Malaysian working for BA Systems, and I'm proud to serve my country. Assalamualaikum, YB.
Salam. Okay, so maybe this question and then I'll answer the four.
Right, thank you. So good afternoon, sir. YB. Fantastic. I think we have heard so many from the aerospace industry. By the way, my name is Wilson, Global Component Asia. I'm also from the aerospace industry. So just to make it a little bit lighter than what my fellow brethren has shared just now. So this from the industry perspective, from the 90s where we are pretty much MRO-centric, to where we have grown leaps and bounds. Now we have teams actually fantastic in terms of manufacturing. In fact, I'll say that if our manufacturing capacity go down today in Malaysia, global supply chain for aircraft manufacturing is affected. So that's a big thing since that. That we also have a tremendous capacity in design and whatnot. In fact, we have a very good document, Aerospace Blueprint 2030. That actually look forward on where the seed industry in the global growth and forward projection and whatnot. But from the industry perspective, we've seen there's a lacking, there's a gap between what the forward-looking for as an industry we're looking forward to and the administrative parts from supporting those growth-related, where we're still very stuck. It has almost like a feelings that, when you mention to the administrative, talking to the people, when you talk about aviation, they're still stuck with the MRO and MENTERI instead of going beyond that right now, it's manufacturing all those and design and whatnot. So the questions to thoughts from the economic minister and as well as the government agency is that we want to look forward beyond not where we used to be in the past. So there need to be a support from an administrative standpoint, where there's going to be tax regulation, where there's going to be how we're going to address the HS code and all those and whatnot, have to be able to keep up pace with industry. Right? So just a question to the minister. Thank you.
I start with the easy one. First, yes, I fully agree. I think there's always a lag between not so much a policy aspiration, but translating that policy aspirations into rules, into regulation, into oversight. And that's one of the reasons why, it's unpopular, but the Ministry of Economy has pushed and succeeded in getting the government to commit to what basically is Red Tapes Reduction Act, which Prime Minister has announced as Iltizam. We have about 60,000 regulations now, procedures, 60,000 procedures in government now. We have about 600 acts. Some of these acts have never been reviewed, let alone the regulations. And if you see from public sector's perspective, right? As government and society evolves and develops decades after decades, there'll be new things coming. And when new things begin to affect society, the economy, and then you have to regulate it, or you have to make sure that it grows in a certain way. So over the years, what we have, if we are not careful, and this is true for any country for that matter, what we have is that over time, the number of regulations and rules grow exponentially. And if the government doesn't have specific policy in order how to manage this growth of regulations and outdated regulations, we end up where we are today. And that's why, as of the last assessment, we work with MPC and the industry through Pemuda. We have about 60,000 regulations and 600 laws. So Cabinet has approved this so-called Anti-Red Tape Reduction Act, which PM wants it to be called Iltizam, so he has announced in the budget. What it is basically is to mandate government agencies and ministries to review and update regulations every 3 years. And this has to go to Parliament, because what doesn't get tracked, what doesn't get reported, doesn't get done. So governments commits that every 3 years we will go to Parliament and debate and submit the progress of cutting red tapes. That's number one. Number two is the rule that for every new regulation that comes in, you must take one out. Otherwise, the number of regulations will grow over time. So when this comes to force, and we plan to table it in Parliament in Q1 2025, it compels all agencies to review their regulations, and we hope, working across the board with all the government agencies and the industries, then we will be able to use this opportunity in the next 1 or 2 years to really align and push the efficiency of government's oversight and regulation. So the process from the top has started. Of course, we have to go through that process sector by sector. But I'm hoping that with the act to come in force next year, the old days where someone did a rule in 1970s and successive ministers or government changes, and nobody bothers to go back and see what was done 20 years ago, and it remains in the statute book or in the regulation, that will be a thing of the past a few years down the line. And hopefully, because government has to present and to submit to Parliament every 3 years, it will keep our sets of regulations as agile as possible. And that is where I hope the industry will come in as well. Of course, we already have a platform, which is Pemuda, which is the highest level of public and private sector forum in order to harmonize rules and regulations. Even in the past, Pemuda's proceeding is usually about government, please do this and that, or please change this rule and so on. I hope with Iltizam coming to force next year, it elevates Pemuda so that you take a much higher perspective, working with government, not just to fight for what is good and easy for my industry, but to make sure that the rule and regulations are as agile and as constructive as possible to support the growth of all industries. So, let's see how it goes from next year onwards. On Captain Azhar's and the young lady in the beginning about aeronautical, aerospace, I think all the industries in Malaysia went through that process. And all have the same pitfalls. Sometimes we are too comfortable and we become a victim of our own success. And this is where, the whole model has to be facilitated by government. It's natural in this country from the very beginning that government initiated the first catalytic move into an industry. EPU had done that many times in the past. If you look at the long-term planning, now EPU is Kementerian Ekonomi, we look at the long-term planning, and the government decided that we must take a stake in that business. We need to start having a presence in that. So in the first few cycles of an industry, government takes a very significant stake in the business. And when that happens, usually is either governments connect the dots together, or governments lower down the investment costs, fiscally or non-fiscally, or to some extent, more often than not, government prepares the ecosystem so that the nascent industry can grow. And that more or less, I think, the story of Malaysia in the last 40, 50 years. But what we have to be careful is that, and that's where I think we need to rethink of that model, there must be a clear graduation from one level to next level in terms of, you know, the complexity of the industry and in terms of the value and technology content of the industry. And if we are not careful, if government provides too comfortable an ecosystem, then our industry never feels that they have to go and jump higher and start embedding themselves into the global supply chain and then work their way up in the global supply chain. So I think the aerospace industry began with something like that in the past. It started with national needs. It started with, as I think Captain Azhar mentioned just now, it started with our need to service our, you know, fighter jets and so on. And then some companies started with supplying technical skills or spare parts. And then up to some point, you know, it started with MRO, the need for MRO. We started having a larger fleet of public, commercial, non-commercial flights. And rather than sending this overseas, might as well do it here. My focus is to see how we can scale up that very good foundation so that these good companies that have all this while sustained locally because of the domestic market begin to jump higher and be either a regional or global player. And time is very opportune now. Because post-COVID, you are seeing, hang on. Because post-COVID, I think we will continue to see high demand for air travel. The backlog of commercial and non-commercial planes will continue to increase. And there is that shortfall now. I think a lot of our companies are inundated with a lot of global orders. My wish is that don't just use this upcycle, because any business, especially aerospace industry, has a very vicious cycle. It's about capacity building, and then there will be over capacity, and then things will lull for a while before it picks up again. What we need to make sure, and this is where I think I'm extremely open to any program design from the industry, especially the strategic ones. I have to admit, for example, Kementerian Ekonomi have focused a lot on especially three main industries, you know, energy transition, and all the strategy interventions, for example, CCUS, that could not have taken place without government coming in, advanced electronic and semiconductors, rare earth, digital tech. These are all the ones that we really focus. Having specific ecosystem-wide initiatives in order to uproot the whole thing. We have not looked in details for aerospace, to be frank. So I'm very open, and I have to say at this stage, my knowledge of the aerospace industry in Malaysia is not as deep as what I've got involved with the other three sectors. But the process is similar, which is how do we uproot the whole ecosystem to prepare the industry to go beyond what has been provided all this while, and to take opportunity of this upcycle in the aerospace industry. Part of it is already happening. I mentioned, Captain Azhar mentioned this now. We've provided a lot of money to make sure that industry now drives the upskilling. We've already debottlenecked in terms of qualification. We allow industries to take employees, even from among the school leavers, train them and give them certification, and that certification is recognized straight away without having to go through the rigmarole of bureaucracy of the past. So all that has been implemented in pilot stage, and in RMK13, this is going to be made widespread across industry. But if we were to see a sustained growth of aerospace industry, I do concur that most probably it's something that we need to look much further in beyond what the government has done so far, because when we compare in terms of the complexity of the plan and the ambition of that government has for other industries, we haven't had something so all-encompassing for aerospace industry. Puan Mona Lisa mentioned just now, I think you all heard, actually it's my instruction. I did not sit down with any private company. So it's not just yours, even the largest of the largest, because if I open the floodgate, what we will have is that any Tom, Dick and Harry every day says, I have a business proposal. The Ministry of Economy's job is not to sit down and go through a private company's proposal. Simple. Whoever that is. Whether you are the MNCs or the largest, I don't. Because otherwise, it repeats the thing of the past. And my view is that, you see, if people have investors and they want to invest with government instruction that to facilitate any leads for investments, the door is open wide. What I want to avoid is people coming with a proposal and say that, this proposal has the support of a minister or a ministry, and then it will go through and run the repeat of the past. My view is that a good company with a good idea, you should strike straight away. Unless there are structural limitation. If you want to do nuclear and you all have the money in the bank to do nuclear, but the law doesn't allow it, and you think that it is extremely important, then fine. What I do usually is I sit down with the industry group because it represents industry, not the interest of specific company and so on. So please don't blame my officers, and I hope you empathize with our situation. We do have tons of people queuing to see either the officers or the minister every day. And what I am very careful is this. We all know how it works in Malaysia. Sometimes all it takes is one photo with a minister to say that I have a very good relationship with the minister, so and so. Take that photo and go and see someone else and say, I can bring you to this minister and so on. That's something that I'm extremely, strict about. I have a case where someone appeared at my door, my office door, and claimed to be my wife's uncle. I never seen him. I don't know that my wife has an uncle like that. I actually had to chat with my wife and see, is this your uncle? And my wife said, that's not my uncle. So I hope you understand it's a lot more complicated for us in order to be fair to everyone. Otherwise, I think there's no point for us to change government if we repeat the thing of the past. if you have a good investor from China, by all means, bring them in, work with them. And I'm concerned if you have an investor, but you need the investor to see the minister. That's I tell straight away. And I think that message should go to everyone. You can try, but not so much my officers. Usually I decide my schedule myself. And most of my time, my schedule is blocked for government jobs, meetings, and then government's programs and so on. And I think I can count less than 10 companies, and these are usually international investors. I mean, Amazon, yeah, lah. You sit down with Amazon, lah. You sit down with the largest VCs in the world, but usually I hardly ever sit down with any company privately, especially if the intention is to present something, you know. So, and I hope that message goes far and wide, because otherwise, you know, we will continue to have disappointed people that I can't see the minister. All the other, my advice is that for those who think that you have a very good business idea, and then there are either some restrictions or you have opinion, email to us. I do read emails. It's just that don't get pissed off if we don't come back to you. Because every proposal, and I think all the bahagian in Kementerian Ekonomi, we have a division for every sector. Every day they receive a lot of proposals. They have to go through the due diligence and then just get the sign off whether this is something that we should take up or not. So if you can imagine, you know, out of 10 proposals coming every day to an officer, most probably 9 is something that we have seen before, that we think that this doesn't require government intervention and this should, you know. And the reason, if I can share with a lot of you, if you ask, why when people send proposal, lepas tu sometimes division tak jawab. Because when kita jawab, it never ends. We say, no, thank you very much, this is already in action, please proceed. They will come back, yeah, but I tak puas hati, you know, my proposal is good, why you cakap no? Dia sambung. I actually reply in my first few months. I reply to every email and so on, and then after a while I say, you know, this is not going to end. Because when someone writes to you, they expect you to say, yes, I will support, I will give this endorsement and so on and so forth. Which, you know, frankly speaking, I don't know about other ministries, but Kementerian Ekonomi cannot do that. You know, likewise, when people write and say, I have this brilliant idea, I need 50 million from government. Even if I write, no, we can't provide you the money, my experience, after that, he will hound me for about 6 months. Why is it that you're not giving me 50 million? My idea will change the world. And so I hope you also see, you know, if you are in our shoes, you know, while, you know, we usually see from our perspective, one, Kementerian Ekonomi has to deal with thousands every month. And then we have to be able to sift through which ones are really fit, which ones that require government's intervention, which one is basically a private venture that should go on its own. More questions?
Good afternoon, YB Ministry, and also everyone. My name is Chang. I'm from the Electrical
Baik, itu dia sahabat semua jawapan-jawapan yang terus dirangkumkan ya oleh YB Rafizi Ramli ya, daripada 4 persoalan yang dikemukakan oleh pemain-pemain industri tadi. Begitu padat, begitu mantap sekali sahabat semua. Harap-harap para walaun-walauntit fahamlah ya, sebab YB Rafizi Ramli menjawab ya dalam bahasa Inggeris campur bahasa Melayu. Ya, jadi sahabat semua, sekiranya anda mau berikan sebarang komen, pandangan, anda boleh berikan di dalam ruangan komen. Tapi ingat, komen dengan cara berhemah. Terima kasih. Izinkan saya untuk mengundurkan diri. Dan seperti biasa, peribahasa mengatakan, kapapun kangkap, 2 tahun keinginan. Dalam bahasa Melayunya, tepuk dada, tanya selera. Sekian daripada ORAITNOPO Channel. Kita berjumpa lagi. Bye-bye.